What if I told you that one of the most visually stunning and emotionally resonant animated films ever made was largely ignored upon release? I'm talking about DreamWorks' Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron, a movie that dares to let its protagonist neigh instead of talk. Yes, a horse that doesn't speak a single word, yet conveys more spirit than most human characters. This 2002 gem was a critical and commercial disappointment at the time, but it has since become a cult classic. Why? Because it's a raw, poetic ode to freedom, survival, and the American frontier. In this essay, I'll break down exactly why this film is a masterpiece you probably missed. Strap in, because we're about to run wild. Spirit, Stallion of the Cimarron was co-directed by Kelly Asbury and Lorna Cook. Asbury was known for his work on Shrek 2 and Romeo and Juliet, while Cook was a story artist on classics like The Lion King and Beauty and the Beast. Their shared vision was to create a film that felt like a moving painting. They chose to set the story in the late 19th century American West and sent a team to photograph real landscapes in Monument Valley, the Grand Canyon, and Wyoming's Red Desert. The film was fully hand-drawn at a time when CGI was taking over a bold choice. The production used a revolutionary digital ink and paint system to mimic watercolor, giving it a unique look that no other major animated film had achieved before. This film defies easy genre classification. On the surface, it's a Western, with horses, cowboys, and vast landscapes. But it's also a survival story, a coming-of-age tale, and a meditation on colonization. The narrative structure is unconventional. Because Spirit never speaks, the story relies on visual storytelling, internal monologue from Matt Damon's narration, and music to convey emotions. The film takes inspiration from classic westerns like The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance but subverts them by making a horse the hero and putting the audience in his hooves. The lack of dialogue from the protagonist forces us to read body language, making every snort whinny and gallop loaded with meaning. Visually, Spirit is a feast. The cinematography, as rendered by hand-drawn animation, uses sweeping long shots of the landscape to emphasize Spirit's isolation and longing for freedom. The color palette shifts from warm golden tones of the prairie to cold blues during captivity. The ink and paint process gives the film a soft, ethereal quality, like living art. One iconic shot is Spirit running against a sunset, his mane flowing on wind. Director of photography Steve Chapman used actual lens flares and camera movements from classic westerns, translated into animation. The sequences of Spirit galloping are fluid and kinetic, often shot from low angles to make him seem powerful. Watercolor skies and dust storms add a painterly texture rarely seen in animation. Beneath its horse-led adventure, Spirit is a searing critique of colonialism and the destruction of Native American cultures. The U.S. cavalry represents oppressive authority, while the Lakota tribe, led by Little Creek, embodies harmony with nature. Spirit's journey from wild freedom to captivity and back mirrors the experience of indigenous peoples. The film also tackles themes of empathy. The bond between Spirit and the Lakota boy teaches that communication transcends language. And then there's the theme of resilience. Spirit never breaks, even when hobbled. The subtext is powerful. True freedom isn't just physical, it's spiritual. Every frame reinforces the idea that you can't cage a wild heart. This is not just a kid's movie, it's a protest. Here are 3 Easter eggs you probably missed. 1. During the train station scene, look closely at a poster. It's a reference to The Iron Horse, a classic 1924 Western. 2. Spirit's design was influenced by a real Kiger Mustang named Spirit, and the animators studied actual horse movements at a ranch in Oregon. 3. In the scene where Spirit jumps over a canyon, if you pause, you can see a tiny smile on his face, an intentional detail to show his joy of freedom. Also, the bridge that collapses is a nod to a similar scene in The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. These little touches reward attentive viewers. Released in May 2002, Spirit had a budget of $80 million and opened to just $17 million, considered a disappointment. Worldwide, it grossed $122 million. Critics were divided. It holds a 69% on Rotten Tomatoes, with many praising its visuals but finding the story too simple. Audiences, however, were more positive, giving it an 81% score. Over time, it became a home video success. In contrast to DreamWorks' Shrek the year before, Spirit was seen as too artsy for mainstream tastes. But its box office doesn't reflect its cultural impact. It inspired a Netflix spin-off series and remains a beloved entry in animation history. Though Spirit has no human voice, the voice cast is stellar. Matt Damon narrates and voices Spirit's internal thoughts. His warm, earnest delivery adds depth. The main human characters are James Cromwell as the Cruel Colonel and Daniel Studi voices Little Creek. Interestingly, Studi is of Native American descent, which adds authenticity. The filmmakers cast actual horses for reference, but the animators gave each horse unique personality. Spirit's mane and tail style changed according to his mood. The standout performance is actually from Spirit himself. His expressions and movements were hand-drawn with meticulous care, making him one of the most believable animated animals. Spirit changed the game for hand-drawn animation by proving it could compete with CGI through artistic ambition. It earned an Academy Award nomination for Best Animated Feature, the second year that category existed. Its legacy is the watercolor Western look, influencing later films like Rango and The Good Dinosaur. The soundtrack by Hans Zimmer, with songs by Bryan Adams, became iconic. Here I Am and the title track reached Billboard charts. The film also sparked conversations about representation of Native Americans in animation. It's a hidden gem that reminds us of the power of silent storytelling. In a world of constant dialogue, Spirit dares to let images speak. So, is Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron a masterpiece? Absolutely. It's a beautiful, poignant paean to freedom that deserves far more recognition. Its art style is timeless, its themes universal, and its heart pure. I give it a 9 out of 10. It loses a point for a slightly predictable plot, but that's a small quibble. Now I want to hear from you. What's your favorite animated film that doesn't get the love it deserves? Comment below. I read every one. And if you enjoyed this deep dive, hit that like button, share with a friend, and subscribe for more cinematic adventures. Until next time, stay wild and free.